Thanks, Riaz. Good morning. It's 6:30. A manhunt continues in Moncton, New Brunswick this morning after 3 RCMP officers were shot and killed yesterday afternoon. 2 others were seriously injured.
Was that Dad? Go down! He shot him. Oh my God! He shot him! Oh my God! Call 911!
Chilling footage uploaded to YouTube showing Moncton residents reacting to gunfire on their streets. The suspect is 24-year-old Justin Bork. He was last seen wearing camouflage and is believed to be hiding in the city's north end. It has been a terrifying ordeal for people in the area. RCMP have been telling people to remain inside their homes with their doors locked. They have also been warned to expect roadblocks and traffic disruptions.
Basically, what was happening was there were reports that Justin Bork may have actually been carrying a smartphone, and he was getting the information. He was following along as all of the images and all the reports were coming up on social media, stating exactly where the officers were, where they cordoned off areas, where they were standing by, looking for the suspect. And that's one of the issues. The officers basically said, you know what, we're not going to get this guy if you keep telling him where we are. So basically, they said, just, you know, I know it's hard to tell people to stay off social media, but if you have to be on social media, then don't be tweeting or posting exactly where we're located.
BC's police watchdog is investigating the death of a man who passed away after being tasered by RCMP officers in Burnaby. The Independent Investigations Office says Burnaby RCMP responded to a call of a break-in at an apartment yesterday afternoon at Edmonds and Kingsway. Police say the man broke into a first-floor suite through a glass door and would not surrender. After a struggle, he was tasered and taken to custody, but he became unresponsive and later died on scene. A Mountie was also reportedly hurt and taken to hospital. Corey Sater is not accepting his punishment for the drunk driving deaths of 2 women. He's appealing the convictions and sentence in the case. Earlier this year, Sater was convicted on 6 charges and sentenced to another 7.5 years in prison. He was impaired and driving dangerously in 2011 when he hit Charlene Reevely and Lorraine Cruz on the Lougheed Highway. Cruz's boyfriend survived the crash but had one of his legs amputated. The BC teachers' dispute is heating up as rotating strikes continue this morning, leaving thousands of students across the province without classes to attend. Here's a full list of the 15 districts that will be behind picket lines today. They include Abbotsford, Coquitlam, Greater Victoria, the Kamloops, Thompson District, and the Vancouver Island West District. You can access the full list of closures at news1130.com. The BC Teachers Federation says rotating strikes could escalate to an all-out strike within 2 weeks. You see, Greg Harper joins us now live from Port Coquitlam, where classes are not in session today, Greg.
That's right. Good morning, Jody. We're just outside Terry Fox Secondary, which is behind a picket line here this morning. Teachers have already arrived as rotating strikes continue. This is a labor dispute that is definitely heating up. Yesterday, the Labor Relations Board ruled that the government is within its rights to slash teacher salaries by 10%. The union says it will consider its legal options. The BCTF has also announced that rotating strikes will continue into next week. The schedule of district closures has yet to be released. It should be at some point today. The union reduced its wage demand by 1% this week, but says the government hasn't moved from its position. The BCTF continues to demand the government bring more funding to the table. Meanwhile, teachers will vote on Monday and Tuesday of next week on whether or not to escalate their job action.
We don't take action lightly, but the rotating strikes have shown that parents understand what we're fighting for and why we must continue forward. The vote itself will apply pressure on both sides and hopefully spur the movement needed from the employer to help us reach that deal.
So Jim Eicher, the president of the BCTF, he will be here at about 7:30, and there is certainly lots to talk about this morning. We'll have that for you live. Jody?
Thanks so much. Greg Harper reporting live for us this morning. Thanks, Greg. The Conservative government has introduced legislation to criminalize the purchase of sexual services. The bill also cracks down on those who profit from prostitution. It also outlaws the advertising of sexual services and the sale of sex in areas where children may be present. The Justice Minister says the bill is meant to protect the vulnerable and communities from harm. Critics call the new legislation devastating, saying it will have tragic consequences for sex workers across Canada.
This is very sweeping legislation that captures sex workers as well. And really, when I look at it and read it, I cannot figure out how sex workers are supposed to engage in this lawful business and do so safely without running or breaking one of the laws that's proposed in this bill.
Last December, the Supreme Court of Canada struck down our country's prostitution laws, saying they violated a person's right to security. Pivot Legal Society says it will likely challenge this new legislation in court. Prime Minister Stephen Harper is joining other world leaders in Brussels today with the crisis in Ukraine high on the agenda. It's the first meeting of the G7 since Russia was kicked out of the group, condemning its annexing of Crimea in March as illegal. The G7 is calling for groups in eastern Ukraine to disarm and for authorities to take a measured approach to restore law and order. All right, it is 6:35. Let's get you up to speed in the world of sports. To the connected studios we go. Here's Carolyn Cameron.